One of the questions that I wanted to talk about is revolving COVID fatigue. So, it's been more than a year that we've been in this pandemic, and we're always exposed to so many news about what's happening. People are starting to grow a bit tired about this, and also they're relaxing in terms of their personal protective measures. So, how would you explain the psychology behind this COVID fatigue?
And people use that word fatigue in a couple of ways. So first of all, we're all exhausted. We're all tired of COVID. We just want it gone. And there's a couple of reasons we can talk about that. One is at a very physiological level, we're all anxious. COVID makes us anxious, and that kicks in our fight flee system, our so-called parasympathetic nervous system, which floods our body with cortisol. And this system is meant to be something that's engaged to help us like deal with a bear that pops out, and we deal with it, and then it's over, and then we relax again. But COVID is keeping this engaged all the time, and so it's keeping
Mhm.
cortisol in our body, and cortisol makes us feel tired, sluggish, and in fact impacts our immune system after a while. So there's that level of fatigue, which is sort of literal fatigue. But then we also talk about the things you were alluding to, that people are just sort of tired of following rules, and that's because right from the outset, COVID has really put our really basic core selves in conflict with our most recently evolved self. And what I mean by that is we're kind of two people in one, where we all have our emotional side, our emotional core, but we also have this newly developed frontal lobes. This is what, of course, makes our species special. And this is where we do a lot of our conscious, rational decision making and stuff. But conscious, rational decision making is hard. Focusing our attention and really thinking through things is hard. The other thing our frontal lobes does is inhibits. You know, when you're in that situation and a joke comes to mind around a bunch of people, and that part of you that looks around and says, maybe this isn't the appropriate place for this joke. Maybe I should just shut up right now. That's your frontal lobe. So it makes sure we are behaving appropriately for our context. Since COVID began, we all want social connection. That's our emotional self lives for connecting with other human beings, especially at your age. By the way, it's especially strong for younger people when you're building out your social network, and that is as natural to who we are as drinking water or eating food. It's just literally what we strive for. We have had a year of our frontal lobes. It's kind of like the parent who's watching the 5-year-old. Our frontal lobe saying, no, no, you can't do that. No, no, you can't do this. Yeah, you want to see your friend, but you're not allowed to. You want to whatever. And so it's literally like our frontal lobes just are not up to the task of being babysitter of the sort of monkeys within us, if you will, the core primitive version of ourself that thinks of social connections as our way of dealing with stress and anxiety. But it does tire you out, and I think we've all felt, in a full year now, we just want to go back to living the way we were. We don't want to keep watching ourselves every minute and inhibiting
Mhm.
everything we do. We just want to be. And that's the sort of challenge we have. That's why people sometimes, I think, skirt around some of the rules. You are just seeing their emotional side in conflict with their rational, logical side.
So, what would you recommend some of the ways that we can overcome this and make sure that we are actually following the rules?
One of the reasons this is all challenging is because our fight and flight system is so continually engaged and need to get breaks from that. In order to sort of be able to exert control and do all these things, we need every now and then to get away from the stress and get away from the anxiety. It's not
Mhm.
easy with COVID. Every time you turn on the news, you're confronted with COVID stuff. Your friends are talking about it. Your professors are talking about it. It's everywhere, and so your mind is constantly brought back there. There's sort of two approaches. So let me just mention at the outset. When COVID began, I created a free online course that's available on Coursera.org. Search Mind Control, which sounds ominous, but the idea of that is and this would be part of my advice, to try to explain to people what anxiety is. I think that's step one. Understand what's going on because it's sort
Mhm.
of a basic biological process. And once you understand it, you see why, oh, I'm glad I have this process. It will help me in some situations, but I also see why it's a problem now. And once you understand why it's a problem, then I go on and I talk about strategies, and those strategies will make sense. Approach one is using the environment to control your mind. Just as I described, you watch the news, you're staring at the threat, and it's going to make you anxious. But other things you might do might bring your mind somewhere else. And first of all, that could be anything. If you ever notice, hey, I didn't think about COVID for a while. First of all, don't feel guilty.
Mhm.
Go, yes. And then try to figure out what was I doing? What was it that brought my mind somewhere else? Whatever that thing is, it's medicine. Use it more. And there are certain things that if you play with, that are actually really positive, almost antidotes to the cortisol that's in your body. And those are things like singing and dancing and music and laughing. Those things, anything that makes you do any of those things, is medicine now as well. Day. Realize how many social interactions we used to have in a day before COVID. How many different people did you talk to? Often they were just 2 or 3 minutes, but you had these little interactions all through the day, and every one of them kind of supported your mental health. And now
Mhm.
most of them are gone. We need those again, but we have to sort of more consciously plan them and literally say, oh, between 2 and 3, I'm just going to reach out to old friends, to family, to whoever. Those sorts of things can make you feel better. So those are kind of quick things you can do to kind of help you kind of negotiate and manage the anxiety and get breaks from it. If you really want to take it seriously, there's a skill you can learn, but
Mhm.
but the skill is the skill of what I call summoning relaxation. You cannot be both anxious and relaxed. It's sort of different sides of our peripheral nervous system. The best way to get rid of anxiety is to summon relaxation, to kind of take its place. It kind of pushes it out. So you don't focus on the anxiety, you focus on making your body relaxed. How do you do that? Well, that's the learning part. And so there are these things called guided relaxation audios, and I recommend anybody can check on YouTube. They usually use something called progressive muscle relaxation, which just means we start at your feet, we go through your whole body, and we get you to tense muscles for a while, hold them really tight, and then let go of it, and to feel that release of tension. And if you do this enough, if you practice this enough, it can become something you can just do so that when you feel anxiety building, you can kind of, I usually associate a trigger word like beach or something. You can say to yourself, beach, beach, pull the
Mhm.
relaxation over yourself. So this is a really cool skill. It can help you now and it can help you with every challenge in the future, but it takes time. And so let me just mention in that regard, we will soon be releasing a free app that helps people learn this skill. It will be called Little Rain, and we hope it'll be out in about 3 weeks from now being early March when you and I are talking. So by at least by the end of March, we hope this app will be available on the App Store and other places. And please feel free to try that out and give that a go because I think that's the real then you can leave COVID with a skill you didn't have going in, a skill that can help you all through your life. So that's the other approach.